A lot of women have come out to complain about how their husbands will not touch them, but he'll go into the bathroom and pleasure himself. And they're wondering why. It's because his brain has been eaten by that kind of pleasure that you coming into his life doesn't change anything. Here are three things I learned about sex in my 3 years of marriage. The first one is there is no point learning your body. Have you heard the term learn your body before you go into a relationship, learn your body before you get married? You don't need to. So let me tell you a story. When I was single, I knew a girl who was talking about learning your body at a workplace. She was always saying that women should learn their body so you can teach the man in your life how to pleasure you. And at that time, it was about the first time I was hearing about learning your body, honestly. So I didn't want to expose myself of the fact that I don't know what it means to learn your body as a woman. So she was saying that it's good to learn your body. So I asked an innocent question. I said, "What do you mean by that?" And she said, "Oh, you should use your hand to know where you feel the most pleasure. You should do this, you should do that." And I was thinking, if only you knew. Well, at that time, I was reading a lot of books about marriage and relationships. So I just said, "Yeah, well, okay." I didn't argue, I didn't try to make her change her opinion. A few years later, she got married. She got married before me. And then she was complaining to her very close friend that her husband doesn't satisfy her. And their marriage is not what she thought it would be because they did it before they got married, and it was so nice that he was even drooling when he was doing it with her. I said, oh, I shouldn't be laughing. That he was drooling and he was enjoying it and everything. But immediately they got married, he wasn't as excited about it. That's a whole different topic. But you see, number one, there's no point learning your body because the person you marry, he might not be a sexual expert. So why are you setting yourself up for embarrassment and disappointment? So there's no point learning your body, honestly. If you've been sexually active before, you can actually forget what it is like to be sexually active. So I would say keep it pure till you get married, because honestly, the enemy usually attacks people with the loopholes they have in their relationship. So let me give you an instance. For that girl, her main reason for wanting to divorce her husband was their sex life, because the devil saw a hole in her life. He saw somewhere to attack her from. So don't give the enemy space to come in through your sex life. So avoid learning your body, avoid doing it with the person you intend to marry. I know it's hard just saying it, but the truth is you can train your mind, because what makes people stay faithful in relationships is their self-control. So if you don't have self-control in your dating season, why will you have self-control in your marriage? So make sure that you train yourself to be a person of self-control, so that you can always communicate your expectations to him that you are a person of self-control and you want to marry a person of self-control. Recently, I was coaching a lady and she was telling me that she has this guy in her life that they pray together, and I was like, only for her to say he's always talking about pleasuring himself. He's always talking about if they want to keep it holy, she can just give him a head. At least it's not penetration. I was like, my darling, he still needs to work on his self-control, and that's him with God. You don't have a place in that dynamics. It's him and God. If he says he's a Christian, because some people are not born again, and we're not talking about them in this video. I don't address unbelievers because our standards are not the same, right? I am addressing people who have the fear of God in their heart. Don't pleasure yourself and don't marry somebody who pleasures himself. A lot of women have come out to complain about how their husbands will not touch them, or he'll go into the bathroom and pleasure himself, and they're wondering why. It's because his brain has been eaten by that kind of pleasure that you coming into his life doesn't change anything. He's probably just getting married for the facade of getting married so that people will leave him alone, and he's not getting married because he wants to be with you. So make sure that your sexual purity is intact, his sexual purity is intact, all right, so that the enemy doesn't attack you with your sex life. The second thing I've learned about sex since being married is anything that happens outside of your relationship doesn't affect the sex life if you have done number one. So if you didn't pleasure yourself and everything that I just said in number one, and you now get married, having kids doesn't affect your sex life. Because someone told me when I was single that since she gave birth, she doesn't desire her husband again. She doesn't want to be touched. In fact, she doesn't get wet anymore. I was thinking, hey, God, oh. So me, the reason why I planned to wait till 5 years years before I have my first fruit is because I wanted to actually enjoy intimacy with my husband, right? So I didn't want to get pregnant until God said, Madam, I am the master planner. So when I got pregnant, I was waiting for the day that my sex life would be bad. Because we kept it pure before we got married, it was exciting from the day one. Like, we didn't do anything on the wedding night. So I think it was the next day or so that we started that journey. And it didn't feel like anything else mattered but that thing. And I think that's why we got pregnant, because it literally happened every other day. So when we are ovulating, when we are not ovulating, we weren't even calculating any of those things. So we just got pregnant after 2 months of marriage because we were excited to have that intimate time as a couple. Whereas when people steal it, once they get married, they're like, oh, jeez. Ah, well, that's what happens. Men will always like something that is fresh, that is new, that they've never tried. So it prompts them to get married and it prompts them to stay active with you. But if they got it before they married you, what's the exciting thing there? Now, I was in the studio when I was single and I overheard some guy saying, I don't feel married person where I don't sleep with. I was like, eh? Thank you, Holy Spirit, that I'm here. And they were talking to each other and saying they couldn't marry somebody that they've slept with. And I said, thank you, Lord, because honestly, this just makes me aware that the way men think is not the way we think. We think if we give them sex, if we give them things, we will be showing that we love them. Whereas it's the reverse psychology. Is when you don't give them things that they'll be running after you. And I really tried it and it worked for me, and it's been working for a lot of my clients. So I'd always encourage you, if he's not willing to wait, my dear, let him go. Honestly, there's no two way about it. Let him go, honestly. Getting pregnant doesn't affect your sex life. Having a baby doesn't. During counseling, they told us that it might affect, especially if you have like a vaginal birth. The first few weeks might be painful and all of that if they saw you. So because I had C-section, my pain and my fear was around my lower belly. Like, don't go near my lower belly. So we did every other thing but not going near my lower body. So it did not affect our sex life in any way. So yes, I was afraid the first few weeks, like, make the thing no go bust. Yes, sorry if it's gory, but I was really scared that it doesn't affect that area. So it didn't affect. When our son was about 1 month, 2 months, we started like nothing happened. Like, we didn't just give birth. I don't like to talk about my private life. I mean, this part of the private life. But honestly, I just want to use my experience to encourage you to just keep it holy, honestly, because God will now be giving you the strength you need after you have a baby. Like, the strength I had after I had a baby was even scary to me. All right, it was scary to me. So yes, you will have so much excitement because both of you are just seeing it now in marriage. But if you saw it before the marriage, I don't know, it just does a lot. And a lot of people don't have good experiences with this. As a coach, I will tell you, a lot of my clients who stole it before then, I always encourage them, it's fine, you can still keep it pure, you can still renew your mind, but it's always best when you don't go that lane. All right, to keep the excitement, to keep the fun. The third thing I've learned about sex is that a woman can be as pleasured as a man in a relationship. Most times, people say it's only men who enjoy it in marriage. That's when you don't do counseling, honestly. Because during counseling, they told my husband everything he needed to do to make sure that I was happy, honestly. They told him, do like this, don't do this, don't do that. When you're just starting out, they gave us too much information. And I think that's also what transpired into when we now had a baby and we thought everything will go. We were having sleepless nights with our baby, but guess what we were doing with our sleepless nights? Not complaining, but doing something. Yes, do counseling with your man. Don't just see, let me tell you, I did counseling with my husband, but we did another kind of counseling where it was just Bible things they were talking about. Till today, I don't remember anything that happened in that particular counseling sessions because we did many different counseling, just to please everyone. Because one of my hairdresser told me that her mom booked one counseling for her. She did it, but she still paid for her own counseling. So if your parents want you to do with your church, do, but go and get a professional counselor, marriage counselor, a marriage coach who can coach you and coach your husband about your sex life. Because the two ways the enemy attacks marriage is through their finances and through their sex life. So the one that we did, that we paid for, they teared us apart with knowledge. We were very ready for the journey. And so they taught him how to pleasure me. They taught me how to pleasure him. They taught us what to do when this happens, when you notice your partner had a hard day at work. What do you do? Should you just come and jump on them, or should you play with them? All those things. You can't just marry somebody and expect your sex life to be good. One girl I know who had a baby out of wedlock, I was talking to her randomly. I was not a coach at the time, but I was married. I was pregnant, she was pregnant. So talking about sex in marriage, and she said that men don't really know how to satisfy. I say no. What happens is, as a pregnant woman, you should not neglect your husband. She wasn't married, she just had a baby daddy. So me, I was talking from a place of knowledge. Like, no, I'll satisfy my husband. Do you know what she said? She said, it's just so crazy how women are always thought to satisfy their men. I said, no, no, no. My husband was thought to satisfy me too. We had some difficulties in the first few weeks of our marriage, and we went back to our counselors. They helped us draw out a plan for our sex life. Is that important? How do you intend to be close to somebody you are not close with? You have to be close to someone. So I told her, no, both of us are into each other. We got counseling, we got training, we know what to do and when to do what. So she seemed less privileged. Now, me, when I relate with people on that level, I don't like to come and do coach for them. No, I don't like to act like a coach and tell them. In fact, then I wasn't satisfied, but I had the gift to give knowledge and counseling and coaching about love, right? But if she ever watches this video today, I would tell her, you don't have to marry your baby daddy. When knowledge comes, when light comes, please go after it. Women should learn how to satisfy their men, as well as men should learn how to satisfy their women. Shouldn't be one way, shouldn't be one-sided. All right? And be very vocal about your wanting counseling. No couple comes to me and goes away without getting serious materials on sex and money. Because honestly, you can't finance your love life if you don't have money. And how do you even stay in love if you can't finance your love life? So please, don't let anybody lie to you about sex. These are the things I've learned about sex, and I pray that the Lord continues to teach me more things, to teach you guys that if you keep the relationship holy, God will be there to back you up with your sex life. But if you invite the enemy into your sex life, he will not leave. Oh, you pray and cast and bind and cast and bind. You already broke that seal for his entrance into your relationship. So keep that door closed, that the enemy cannot attack you guys with maybe all those things. I don't want to just scare you, but it's very scary going into marriage with someone you've not done counseling with. I mean, a proper counselor who asks him his body count and tell him to explain all the bala. We used to call it bala then in school. Tell him to explain all the intimacies. Let him talk. Who was it with? Oh, they ask us all these questions. You need to know the demon you're going to deal with in marriage. Do you understand? Don't be ignorant, and make sure you don't marry an ignorant man. I love you with the love of God, and I just wanted to really show you guys the new intimacy cards. So these are for singles who are intending to get married. If you know that you want to have a wholesome marriage, we've put this together to help you ask the right questions and at the right time. All right? While this is for married folks, so when you open this particular red pack, there are some questions that are red. Like, let me show you with mine. You will see all of these cards, right? But the one that will set your home on fire is these red ones. Look at them. What kind of power dynamics excites you? This is bedroom question. Like, do you want to be on top? Do you want to be beneath? Describe our first kiss. All these kinds of questions just makes your relationship hot. Describe something you would hate to do for real but find kinky to think about. Something you wouldn't like. When 24 asked me this one, I was like, Describe something that turns you on which you haven't shared with me. These red ones. That's just a few. The other ones are also very interesting, dreams, goals, aspirations, things he likes about you, things you like about him. Just keeps your relationship on fire always. I love you with the love of God. Please tell me where you're watching from. You know, that's my love language, to know where my people are watching from, and give it a like. Tell your friends to tell their friends that I just dropped information about sex for people who are still single. And yes, take good care of yourself. Bye bye.